Okay, here's how I've tried to think through tonight. Some of you I've met before, some of you this is the first time. Others of you I feel like perhaps I'll never see again. So my thought process has been, if I could tell you one thing, what would it be? Like if we were never going to meet ever again and I could get one shot to walk you through a passage of Scripture, what would it be? If I could preach just one sermon to you, what would that sermon be? And it's that heart, that thought that has brought me to Matthew chapter 23. So if you've got a Bible, you can turn to Matthew chapter 23. And in Matthew 23, you're going to hear a conversation that Jesus has with a group of people called the Pharisees. I don't know how much background you have in the Bible, but the Pharisees were the religious leaders of Jesus' day. They're the kind of folks who would show up on a Friday night to a prayer meeting, right? I mean, there's a million options, and all the kinds of people in the town were in a million different places, but the Pharisees were the kind of good, moral, decent, religious, spiritual people who would actually show up even on a Friday night to something like this. And so my thought has been, if Jesus could preach one sermon to us, I think he would take us to Matthew chapter 23. If you've got one of those red letter Bibles, you're going to notice that much of the chapter is red because Jesus is really the only one talking, and he's going to keep on talking. And when you get to Matthew 23, one of the things you're going to notice is that it doesn't sort of play out how you'd imagine it to play out. If Jesus is the founder of perhaps the world's largest religion, you would imagine that when Jesus is talking about or in the company of religious folks, he'd have a pleasant conversation. You'd almost expect that this chapter would be like a pat on the back. Instead, what you get is that this whole chapter is like a series of unrelenting punches from a prized fighter. In fact, when you get to Matthew 23, you get one of the most scathing discourses that Jesus will ever give in the Gospels. You hear him say things that you would be appalled to hear on a Sunday morning in church. Let me give you a sampling of some of the things you'll hear from Matthew 23. Jesus will call them blind. Now, if you've got nothing wrong with your eyes and someone looks at you and says, you are blind, you don't suddenly get fuzzy feelings. You know that they're coming after you, that they're accusing you of a certain thing. In fact, Jesus will push them further. He won't just call them blind. He's going to go further and call them blind men, blind guides, blind fools. And if you know the scriptures, your mind races back to Jesus, the one who said, if you call your brother a fool, Raka, you are in dangers of the fires of hell. And so you begin to realize it's only a sin to call a brother a fool, but what you call a fool is a fool. And Jesus looks at these moral, religious, successful, decent, upright, Bible-reading, Bible-studying people, and he'll call them blind fools. He'll go on to say hypocrites. In fact, you'll hear that refrain 7 times throughout the passage. Nobody gets warm feelings when someone looks you in the face and says, you are a hypocrite. And remember again who he's speaking to, the kind of guy you would find addressing a crowd. Religious people, good, moral, decent people. He'll say that they are whitewashed tombs, sort of like that they've got this external appearance that is brilliant, but that they are filled with dead men's bones rotting on the inside. He'll call them murderers who have killed the prophets. He'll say, you are vipers and you are the children of serpents and vipers. So it's like Jesus is not just going after them, he's going after their parents and their ancestors. This is like the worst mama joke ever, because Jesus is not just saying you, he's saying and your mama too, or your dada too, right? You are serpents and you are the brood, the children of serpents. He'll call them children of hell. You think of that. These are the lights in Israel in that day, the religious leaders who are showing everyone the way to heaven, and he says, you are actually children of hell. 7 times in Matthew 23, he's going to look at them and say, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites." And he says that refrain over and over and over and over and over again. So you've sort of got to ask yourself, why? Why this fierce tone? Why these words? Prostitutes, tax collectors, whores, drunkards, adulterers will come to Jesus and they sit at a meal together. But religious people, leaders, scribes, Bible believers, Bible teachers come to him and he has the harshest words to speak. Why? And what I want to try and show you tonight, it's because Jesus hates religion. Jesus hates religion. Now, I get that you can't sort of just let that sentence hang out there without any kind of context, because I know that there are times in the scriptures where religion is spoken of positively. So in James, you've got good religion that takes care of widows and orphans. But you need to know that the majority of the scriptures that speak of religion speak of it pejoratively, speak of it negatively. So when I'm talking about religion for tonight, I'm talking about the sum of all the man-made ways in which we are going to reach God, get God, lay hold of God. All the attempts that we make to get God. Prayers that we pray, church attendance, morality, decency, uprightness, giving to the poor, community service, the sum of everything that we do that is trying to reach or attain or grab God. Jesus hates religion. By the end of the night, what I'm really hoping is for you to go, I hate religion, but I love Jesus. Because my fear is that in a room like this, that we can get religion and yet miss the gospel completely. Because what I want you to see is that the gospel is altogether different. So what I'm going to try and do is walk you through 7, we'll see how many we get through, 7 reasons why Jesus hates religion. 7 reasons why Jesus hates religion. Let's look at the chapter 23. I'm going to read you the first 3 verses. Reason 1, Jesus hates religion because religion obeys God for the wrong reasons. You got to hear me again. Religion obeys God, but does so for the wrong reasons. Look at verses 1 to 3. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The scribes and Pharisees sit on Moses' seat, so practice and observe whatever they tell you, but not what they do. For they preach, but do not practice." Jesus hates religion because religion obeys God, but does so for the wrong reasons. So in these first 3 verses, Jesus says, listen, when you get around the Pharisees, the religious people of his day, you make sure to do everything they tell you and everything they say, but not what they do. And then he follows it up with this, because they do not practice what they preach. In our day, we've got a phrase for that. If you don't practice what you preach, we call that a hypocrite, right? When you don't practice what you preach, we call that a hypocrite. But the question we've got to ask is, in what sense are the Pharisees hypocrites?